Any other questions about that, Christine, or anybody else with questions pertaining to what you're dealing with or coaching or marketing? Damar, any questions for you?
Well, I guess the question is, I assume that this office hours is based on your presentation a couple days ago about
No, it's not.
speak.
It's just a free-for-all. So
Oh,
you can ask any questions about pertaining
okay,
to the question. Yeah. But if you have
okay,
questions about that, you can ask about the presentation I did about webinars. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm a business coach, and I'm looking to, as my kind of way to generate leads and business, is to getting on stages
Yes.
and doing virtual webinars. I'm doing right now. I'm doing both uh, virtual but also in-person webinars. And so from that standpoint, the one thing that you really focused on in that was talking about virtual, but I assume the process would be the same if you're doing in person as well. Is that correct?
What process is that? The process of getting in-person events or?
Yeah, getting in-person events and speaking, looking at who uh, um, different entities as far as speaking, because I think you talked a little bit about meetup.com in that conversation. So
So if you can encapsulate your question, maybe and clarify. I know it can be discombobulated. I understand. Yeah.
um, so the question is the strategy for in-person events different than what you described in your presentation?
Slightly. There's some basic fundamentals that are the same. Like you want to have um well, let me just describe the strategy I see working for speaking these days.
Okay.
The first place to start from is to identify again, first thing, same thing I said to Christine, identify your target markets, your organizations. Are they entrepreneurial? Are they corporate? Or are they governmental? Are they specialized niches? You want to identify that. You also want to identify what you want to sell, upsell in your speaking engagements. Or are you just doing speaking for the sake of speaking and getting paid for that? Or do you want to upsell people in your audience to something else? So a good place to start is to write up your target markets and then what you want to upsell people to. And you want to have a written offer for that. Because what I've seen a lot of speakers do is they make the mistake of designing only their speech. But then there's nothing beyond that. And then audience members come to them and go, that's a great speech and presentation. Do you have any programs? And then they give a program that's incongruent with their speech. So it's almost like they're speaking about kangaroos and then they end up selling life insurance, which you don't want to do. So it's a good idea to start actually with target market, what you want to sell out of your speaking or just in your business, and write up a good offer for that. Then from that, you want to derive maybe 2 or 3 speaking topics and have identified 3 things for each of those speaking topics that people will derive benefit from that lead to them wanting to do your program or programs.
Okay.
Now you got a sensible sales flow, which as you grow as a speaker, booking people who book you or agents that come to you, it's a good idea to get a speaking agent at some point. They will want to know what you ultimately want to sell because that will keep your speaking career going. And they will know where to put you in imaginative ways in different organizations. So it's a really good idea, like I said, to start out with your offers and your target markets clearly defined. preferably written up.
Okay.
Then from there, you get the 3 topics and you identify the organizations you want to go for. Depending on the organization type, you may want to do a meetup strategy or you want to do a LinkedIn strategy. The meetup strategy, I know some of you may not been at the webinar, is a very affordable way of getting your renown out there, your fame, your branding. Because if you're starting out, it's tough to get speaking gigs without showing that you have an audience. Meetup builds your audience fairly quickly. Now, you may not get a lot of clients from Meetup very quickly, but that's how I started. Actually, that's when I should say that's when my speaking career took off, is when I started doing meetups. Because I could look at speaking organizers in the face and say, I speak 48 times a year, at least to 24 different cities, because that's what Meetup can do for you. So it builds credibility for you as a speaker. And then when you have those groups set up, you can go on LinkedIn and reach out to the organizations that probably have more higher paying clientele in their audience that they can put you in front of. And then you tell them in some messaging, which I can help you define, that, hey, I speak 48 times a year. This is how I do it through meetup.com. I've got an organization of 10,000 people. I've accumulated over a year of doing meetup webinars. And these are people that I can promote events that I speak at in your organization. If you have me come and speak at your event, I'll promote your event to my people. And that way it's a win-win. So there's an incentive now for speaking organizers to actually reach out to you and talk to you. In fact, you might get chased by speaking organizers, which is a lot better than you chasing after them. So this is how you set up the conditions to be chased rather than chase after people. Am I making sense, Demar, or am I going too fast?
No, you're making total sense. And I was talking to someone else about this, and he used the fishing analogy. And there are 2 types of fishermen. The one that goes and buys the lures and everything else and goes to where the fish are. The other type of fisherman is the one that has them jumping into the boats, and so that um, they're not chasing them. The fish are actually coming to them as opposed to, and that's really the best of uh, the best of all worlds. And so what I'm looking to do is to provide training to organizations related to teaching their employees to use AI to be more productive in the workplace, and likewise help individuals if they want to do that, and then likewise find other consultants that maybe want to do that same role and speak on in those 3 different areas depending on who the audience is.
Yeah, AI is, I've got a couple of clients who actually do that. One works with Microsoft. She's one of the top ladies in Microsoft, the AI division. And, she's doing really well with the solopreneurs, which come on Meetup. And she's now building a speaking career towards larger organizations as well. So if you'd like to talk about that, see how that can apply to you, you can book an informal time with me and we can talk about that, see what makes sense.
Okay.
But the beauty is always in the details. What I've given you is pretty much a good 30,000 foot view strategy. But there's probably a couple of things you want to work through, like identifying these precise organizations you want to work with. There are pros and cons of working with organizations as opposed to solopreneurs. You want to entertain both. It's a possibility. Some people prefer organizations, others prefer both. But we can talk about that if you wish to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Hey,
you.
Sunil.
Sunil, yes.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, really wonderful name. It's one of the best names I know. I'm sure you'll agree.
I agree. 100%. So Sunil, I came a little bit late, and I think you're more kind of a business strategist. Am I right?
I'm really a designer, business strategist to help
Okay.
design things from foundational principles, what you want, what your market is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm running across, I do two things. I'm a healthcare consultant, and I also am an investment banker. On the healthcare consulting side specifically, my clients are providers like dermatologists or maybe an ambulance or addiction center, not the hospital necessarily, not the health plan. So in the health plan contracts with all these providers. These providers need contracts with payers, which is the health plans. That's a service I provide to be able to bring in more patients into the door. And if they have contracts with Anthem and everybody, that means they're going to get more patients coming in. Without which, nobody puts up a you know Dr. MD and welcome. Nobody just shows up anymore, right? Those days are gone. So this insurance piece is that's my service. I'm finding lately that it's drying up a little bit in terms of clients.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out what else I could do and should do to attract more clients. And one of the things that one of my friends said is, can you break it up and create a product out of the service? Right? I'm wanting to see if there are ideas that you have, either now or maybe at a later date. I tried to connect with you on email, on LinkedIn. I didn't see it, but I'd love to connect with you offline as well. Can you give me your email?
I'll do better than that. I put a link in the chat box
Oh,
to
okay,
book an informal time with me.
okay,
What you might require about maybe 20 minutes of conversation. I'll see if I can really help you. I think I can.
sure.
Um, I don't know about products, I mean, it's a generalized strategy. I need to dive deeper in with you to really see, but generally
Yeah.
speaking, I'll tell you, products are really hard to sell these days.
Hmm.
You know, I'm assuming, these products help people, educate people, and maybe get them a process on how they can work with you, which will benefit them. But um, these days, there's kind of a backlash against that kind of productization.
Mm,
Because people are the customers are getting more savvy now. They understand the game that when they get a video training, it's not going to give them everything.
right.
They kind of need what I provide, which is more hands-on. And then you charge a premium for it. Now you can have a product that can be an introductory for it and then include it as part of your premium offering
Hmm.
and use that as a lead generation of some sort. That
Right.
maybe more, we might get, actually probably will get more, I say probably with some conditions, more engagement. But I think your friends may be sniffing in the right direction in a sense that your primary needs to be crafted in a way that is compelling. Uh, and so one of the things I suggested for Christine here as well is, and it's generally a really good idea. Have you worked with people before in the past in this capacity? Have you offered it before? So
Oh yeah, have been very successful
I'm
doing
sure.
it as an employee, and also for the last few years I've been doing it. It's just that, as another friend of mine once reminded me, the dog has to eat the dog food, and I'm starting to feel like the dog isn't eating the dog food as much. So I gotta change
Well, you
my product
yeah,
accordingly.
yeah, it sounds like you have a good mousetrap, but like a lot of good mousetraps, they need to be messaged properly,
Yeah,
so they don't sound like any other mousetrap.
yeah, and also
They,
I'm trying to also offer and create new services so that, because my work is B2B
uh,
and it's not B2C, so it's got to be attractive and new and something that really hits some compelling um point. But Sunil, very good to connect. I'm glad you're doing these sorts of calls. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
I've also started to appreciate Alignable more because I was on another call yesterday
Ah,
and came across yours in the event section. So this is really good. This is something that LinkedIn never will do. So Alignable's got something. And
yeah, I know the founders of Alignable. They're on
oh,
the
you
right
do?
track, and they
Yeah,
designed this for people like us, solopreneurs.
yeah. I've got a scheduled meeting with you on the 14th, so I appreciate that.
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Great.
I've got to run, but thank you. This is great. Pleasure meeting you, and good luck to everybody else.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for people? What questions do you have about marketing? What concerns do you have that you'd like to resolve? Who'd like to go, please? Ask and you shall receive. Questions, please.
Sunil, hi there. I was just typing. This is Shireen. I
Yes,
was just typing. I have to leave, unfortunately. But I wanted to know, I had one question that I am in the B2B space as a corporate trainer and a consultant. And one of the questions I wanted to tackle is how do you then approach a company where you know what the problem is, but they don't see the problem and they don't see the issue?
Well, you may have to find a champion. That's what I used to
Mm,
do. I would find a champion, even if it's like an engineer, not necessarily the lead, and work with them first. Because if it's an identified issue, chances are the lower level people are suffering from it. So that's one way. You get leverage, you get work with somebody there, have them recommend you. That's how I got into Cisco in the early days with a lot of corporate training. So that's one way to do it. It's kind of tough with corporations because you have the whole thing that if it's not a recognized problem, if nobody's breathing down their back, they're not going to fund anything.
absolutely.
Uh,
Okay, that's a great idea. Champion's a good one.
the other thing would be to start speaking at bigger conferences. You may need a strategy for that, and that will get you more attention and more buzz. So those are the things off the top of my head. Given that you're going to leave pretty soon, I would think if you want to reach out and do you can book a time with me and can talk with more detail.
Great. That's terrific. Thank you so much.
You're
Have a great
welcome.
weekend.
You
Bye,
too. Take
everyone.
care. Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, ask and you shall receive. Any other questions?
Hmm. So I mean, you just mentioned that you did a lot of trainings and stuff. In what's kind of industry were you did you first start doing that, Sunil?
What industry did I first start?
Yeah.
My mentor threw me into the deep end in 1991. I actually started with engineering companies because I was in the engineering space. So I started training, even though I didn't have a lot of experience, I started training engineering project managers in how to manage and lead because a lot of them didn't have any idea. They came from a tech space. So I started that, and then I just started moving up. And then it was attorneys because various skills I had in negotiating for certain demographics. They started hiring me. Then I started speaking at attorney conferences, and then HR came out of that as well because it was a similar topic, and it just grew and grew from there. I kept sniffing for problem areas, and I just kept an open mind. Those were the glory days of corporate training because people were more open back then and they were more patient. Nowadays, everybody wants a quick answer. The marketing is more complicated nowadays, if that helps you. But that's how I started. And then, I started working with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs in parallel with that because I started speaking at conferences and they started coming up to me. And then around 2008, I discovered the platform meetup.com. And, you know, I actually created a monopoly in the Bay Area. I started taking over a lot of meetup groups that people were giving up on that were designed for the entrepreneur. I looked at the numbers and it made sense because the ratio or people who are doing webinars to people who are on Meetup was very, very low. So it was in my advantage to do so. So I look for opportunities like that where I can get a bigger visibility for low cost, and there's a clear pain point that I can help people with, so I can take them from the pain point to a future that they find compelling. Most people don't know what they want, but if you can help them articulate what they want, that builds incredible amounts of trust. People talk about like, know, and trust, and they talk about personality things. I've never found anything more powerful than having a conversation with someone where you help them articulate what they really want, and what they want aligns with what they need, and they know where they're at, and you show them a process to get them to where they need to go. And that's almost like the only remaining things to talk about at that point is money and when they want to start. So I try to get people who are like you to have offers like that. Because once you have an offer like that, then the rest of the process is easier, because your conversion rates are probably going to be good.
Mm.
So I'm answering a lot of questions here, but I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
You did.
Or the intent of your question. Yeah.
Well, it's the intent of my question was, how do I get started, and does it matter about niching down to something as opposed to starting where I'm at and sniff out the problem, and then but then also look at other opportunities to talk and work with other groups, and so that you're always also you're not focused on one group and living and dying by that one particular group.
Yeah. The AI industry, I mean, it's growing by leaps and bounds, as you might know. I mean, every time I look, I'm studying a lot of AI and boarding up, and I came from a double degree EE and CS background. But you might need to talk. I mean, because I don't know enough about where you want to focus on, but I think generally you want to do both. You want to have that blueprint and update the blueprint as I described the target markets you want to go after. But keep an open mind. Look at different conferences. Look at what people are doing, because the rate of development in AI is pretty astronomical right now. So it's good to keep an eye on that and keep an eye on what you want to focus on at the same time. Because a lot of AI people do very generalized seminars that I don't find particularly useful. They're useful in terms of information, but I wouldn't work with them.
Right.
Because there's no focus and there's no relevance to me. It's like they're giving a compendium, an encyclopedia of what's going on in AI, rather than what can I directly benefit from. You see, how does it improve my bottom line or help me resolve a direct issue that I have right now? So for a lot of people who are looking to use AI, who are smart and savvy and will pay a lot of money, they're looking for decision making to be made easier. That's a big one. So the corporate leaders who come to my clients' AI seminars are like that. How will this improve my decision making? Save me time and headache and brain bandwidth. Brain bandwidth is the most costliest thing. It's not even the time, it's brain bandwidth. How will this AI process help me decide XYZ? So I don't have to like frazzle my brain with one decision. Because, decision making is very expensive to the brain. Every time you make a decision, literally your glucose level drop. And so people who are at that level, if you have an AI consulting that helps them do that, that's worth a lot of money and time for them. Those guys, with a bit of education, will plop down money for that.
Yeah. And that's what the program does. And I, like you, come from a very technical background. I'm a pharmacist by training. I've done that for 40 years. And so, and I've been in every type of institutional level.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, that's where I think the opportunity is.
Yeah, I think you got the credibility based on what you're telling me. So you help marrying the AI technology, making it relevant in your experience to the corporate leaders.
Yeah.
I would go upstream, I think. Without talking to you, it's kind of hard to say, but I would tend to go upstream them. And your marketing may be at a higher level. You may need to start targeting bigger organizations, conferences where C-level people are going to hang out.
Yeah.
And go for a premium offering.
Yeah.
Be more interesting, be more cash flow per unit time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I will go ahead and book a time with you.
Sure. Yeah.
To talk.
Be interesting. Be great to have a conversation. Yeah. Ask and you shall receive. Any other questions, comments? Bobby, you have any questions for me? Or I can't hear you. You're muted, Bobby. Can't hear you.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. It seemed like the changes on Alignable have been very real and significant help to several of the members. I had been Alignable for a long time, but I had not used it because it just didn't, it kind of felt was a sleeper. And so now I'm pretty impressed since I've been going out lately. I just wanted to ask, what would you recommend? I coach solopreneurs. I am particularly focused on women who have started businesses or who want to start businesses, and particularly women my age, that have done
Look
their
around
thing.
our age.
Exactly. They have done their thing and are now ready to start their own thing. They're not ready to retire. And so I have had some luck with that. And I'm also have, worked in the healthcare space and helped some other people, but I've written 6 books. I've done a lot of, quote unquote, marketing stuff, but it just seems like everything right now it's very much different. Everything's tougher. I'm sure the algorithms have made a big difference. I'm sure, and so I just would like to exploit or get more involved with Alignable because it seems like it's working.
Well, I think, if you just focus on a platform, I think where you want to, maybe off, but I think where you want to start from is looking at what you primarily offer, like your real offer, like I shared with the other people.
Right.
And you see from there, design not just the outreach, but also what you can do on Alignable. You've got a good market. I'm familiar with that. That's a growing market right now. A lot of people, women too, are getting tired of their corporate jobs. They've been in it for 10 years, whatever. I mean, people come to me all the time with that. They want to start a business. Or they want to have the courage to just quit the job and do something else and design a lifestyle around that. So that's a lucrative market. It's growing. There's a fair amount of competition, but the people are doing well. They have good offers. They're very well thought out and they're unique. My suspicion is if you've written 6 books, there's some uniqueness about you that we need to distill, and then message those unique factors that lead to people immediately saying, "Oh, this is the future I want to go to. She's the one for me." And that messaging needs to be clarified first, because if you have that design, then the implementation of the messaging that goes congruent with that fundamental design works a lot better. You can almost like just even do a post and you'll probably get more engagement, but you'll probably need to do more than that. I've talked to Venkat, who's the president of Alignable, a lot. I've helped him design a lot of this because this is a very common thing. We're trying to design Alignable to be way more useful than any other platform out there for solopreneurs because there's nobody, LinkedIn's not doing anything for solopreneurs. It's focused on career people now. But even with a good tool like Alignable, it starts with basic foundations. So if the marketing is not hitting, the first place I look at, it's usually an effective place to look at, is your primary offer. Is it resonating? What's missing in it? Am I hitting the right people? Am I hitting the right pain points? Are people really appreciating what I'm saying? Or does it sound like gobbledygook? So sometimes it's language refinements. Oftentimes it's just knowing where to focus on in the messaging and when to focus in what stages. Because some people, when they explain their service, it sounds like a funeral dirge. It puts people into a permanent coma. Although I'm more attentive, I find value because I can see the mastery in what they're doing, but I'm a rare specimen. I listen, very rare these days. Most people don't. So you really have to engage them immediately. You hear a lot about that. But I find what engages people is when they hear an articulation of where they want to go. Because that's the biggest problem. Most people don't know where they want to go. They know where they don't want to go, but where they want to go, not a clue. You have to like drag it out of them sometimes. But if you figure out what these are typically for a handful of people, it typically are the same for most. So I think your approach may be to look at your offer. And then if you want to sit down with me, I can take a look at your offer and see how you can work backwards and create a funnel on Alignable, or maybe even outside of Alignable. The person I worked with was very successful. She did a speaking strategy that worked really well. Conferences, because this is it. Most women who are in corporations don't raise their hand and say, I want to quit. You know, they're kind of subversive about it, understandably so. So if you go to the corporate conferences where you are and you speak about this, you know, the ability to, you're going to find women kind of privately coming to you wanting to talk. So I don't know if you've tried that, but you know, that's one place I would look at. Yeah. Am I making sense, or you know, come online? I can't hear you.
I was muted, so yeah, I do. It makes perfect sense, and the opportunity to. I've been speaking my whole life. I created a $5 million company, and back in the corporate training days, and so being able to help people. My main offer is a solopreneur boot camp, and then masterminds coming out of that. People that have attended that could use the support ongoing. And so those are the bottom line kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. An alternative nowadays, I mean, I do more high premium hand holding kind of work.
Right.
And I charge a lot.
That's really what my mastermind is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, you know, it's not a bad idea to focus on, I mean, you know, Peter Thiel talks about it, you know, where you either you make the primary decision of whether you're going to scale or go high premium.
Right.
My philosophy, if you go premium, go high premium and charge a lot more, and then life becomes a lot easier. Then you'll amass capital to go, because you need a lot of capital to do the scalable marketing these days. The minimum is like 200K if you really want to make a dent in paid advertising. Even with SEO, even with data mining. So, you know, I'm a proponent of doing high premium services because for all reasons I stated. Yeah. So if you want to talk more about it, we can do a deeper dive and see if it what makes sense for you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sunil. It was a pleasure meeting you both.
Pleasure meeting you as well. Yeah. John Hall, we can't seem to talk to you. I don't know if you're even hearing us, but if you'd like to step in. Is that you, John? Oh, thought I heard something. Okay, any other questions, comments?
So, Sunil, who are you looking to work with?
Who am I looking to work with? Is that a question?
Yeah.
Good. Thoughtful at the end there. You know, I work with I'm a funny sort. I like working with people who are at the beginning sometimes, who have a budget of maybe 12K to 20K or even upwards from that, who want me to handhold them to really having them be successful. I like doing premium stuff, which is high touch. So that usually falls into two worlds. Usually these two worlds are both the same. I do a lot of work in helping I have a program called Joyful Workflows, where I take all the overwhelm out of their world, because a lot of people come to me, including very successful people, as some form of ADHD going on. And I remove that in 3 months. I have a whole system that does that, and it's high touch. Parallel with that, many of these people want me to help them create their sales funnel and customize to them. And I do it in a very sensible way. That's usually involves less work and less cost. So those are the two worlds I tend to operate with. I don't distinguish people who are starting out or people who are in the midterms of their career. I work appropriately with both parties. And but generally the costs are really the demarcators. So it's like 12,500 and up, from anywhere from 3 months to a year, and of course for a year it's a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. When you say 12,500 and up, is that per month or is that per?
That's usually 12,500 is usually for the year for certain. Like I do a meetup done for you program that has them have a webinar audience every week. And that's $12,500 per month. And I pay for the meetup groups and everything. And I teach them also in the course of doing that, help them really improve their conversions. And I also do promotions to my own groups for them to beef it up. So I don't take a lot of clients in that area, but that's 12,500. And the price is going up because it'll have to at this point. And then, you know, there are other programs that I do, just depending on what people need, but it's usually in the framework of 12,500 and up. There's some programs I do for 12,500, which are for 3 months, and help them get to a certain point. So it depends on what you need and where you want to go to.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I had to leave early for that program that you had about this speaking. Is there any way to get that offer that that you put out there? Because I wasn't able to get it.
Oh, the Done With You program that's starting in March. Let me put the website for that 1 second.
Okay.
And that's 1 second. That program is $750 for 6 sessions. That starts in March. So I put the website in there.
Okay, great.
And you can, that's the offer. And I think it explains pretty much everything in there. So you can check that out.
Okay.
And that might appeal to you, Bobby, too, because we can reach solopreneurs and career people as well through the meetup strategy. It builds, well, I mean, we already have credibility, so we might have to talk and see if it really pertains to you. But for people like you, Damar, that may be a good one, because it'll build credibility, and then you can use the meetups to build your speaking strategy.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
AI, there are a lot of people interested in AI. The AI guys that I have trained doing this, they typically get 60, 70, 80 registrations per week in their webinars. And about half to 1/3, usually half, show up.
Yeah.
And then typically, if you do it right, you should get a 20 to 50% conversion to discovery sessions from webinar participants, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
That's perfect.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 3 minutes here. Want to make sure you get your bang for buck. It's just you pay zero. That's infinite return on investment. So anyway, I hope I've been of service. And have I been of service? Just raise your hands if I have been of service. Yeah. Thank you very much. And we do this every week. You're welcome to come back again. Feel free to again, I'll post the informal time you can set up with me. And you can further your questions need that in that session. And have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now.